Hello, I'm the Doctor. Welcome to DoctorGeek. Today, we're doing a recap and review of Series 11, Episode 4, Arachnids in the UK. We open in a large deserted hotel as it prepares for its grand opening, and meet a woman named Frankie, who is telling her boss, the owner of the hotel, that there is a serious issue that needs to be addressed that no amount of money can solve. The owner is a super rich businessman named Jack Robertson, who has plans to run for the president of the United States against Donald Trump, and he tells Frankie that she needs to make this problem disappear. Suddenly, Nadia Khan, Yaz's mom, stumbles into their meeting as she has recently been hired as the general manager of the hotel and has come in early to familiarize herself. But Robertson, angry at the intrusion, fires her on the spot and tells her to get out. In the TARDIS, the Doctor pilots her way through the time vortex with brand new graphics, and they land in Sheffield only 30 minutes after they first disappeared with the Doctor in Episode 1. They all say their awkward goodbyes, and the Doctor is clearly upset that they're leaving. But Yaz quickly invites the Doctor to tea with her family, which she gladly accepts. And Ryan decides to join as well. But Graham chooses to go and rest at home, with plans to maybe meet up with them later. As they arrive at Yaz's house, her father excitedly begins to prepare food, and her sister makes it very clear that Yaz doesn't bring friends home very often. As the Doctor talks to Yaz's dad, Yaz gets a call from her mother who needs a ride home from the hotel after being fired. So while Yaz goes to get her, she leaves the Doctor and Ryan with her family. Noticing that a package for the Khan family was left with a neighbor next door, the Doctor volunteers to go and pick it up for them. And going next door, the Doctor and Ryan meet Dr. Jade McIntyre, who is looking for her friend Anna, who she hasn't heard from in days. The Doctor uses the Sonic to open Anna's door, and they explore her apartment, finding it full of cobwebs, and eventually finding Anna herself dead and wrapped in spider silk. While Ryan wonders if spiders are capable of doing such a thing, the Doctor focuses on finding the one who did, and they discover a massive spider hiding under the bed. As they run from the bedroom, temporarily trapping the spider behind a door, the Doctor uses a mixture of garlic and vinegar to repel the spider, keeping it contained while she figures out what's going on. Meanwhile, Graham has been grieving over Grace back at his home, as everything he sees reminds him of her. But after he hears a noise coming from the attic, he investigates, discovering cobwebs as well as the husk of a giant spider. As the Doctor, Ryan, and Dr. McIntyre escape Anna's apartment, Graham joins them, and after some prompting from the Doctor, Dr. McIntyre tells them that this isn't the first incident and that the spiders in the city are out of control. She takes them back to her lab and explains that her team tries to utilize the genetic strengths of arachnids. And after she shows them a map of reported unusual spider activity from the past 3 months, the Doctor uses it to pinpoint the epicenter of spider activity, which just happens to be the hotel that Yaz's mom was just fired from. After we see Frankie get killed by the spiders while trying to expose the hotel's mysterious secret, we rejoin Yaz as she meets her mom, who sadly tells her daughter that she's just been sacked. But before they can leave, Robertson arrives and has his lackey Kevin aim a gun at Yaz, telling them both that they are trespassing. Robertson tells her that if he hadn't already fired her, he would have when he saw the rooms, which are disgraceful, and he shows them the rooms are filled with cobwebs. As Robertson leaves for his scheduled bathroom break, Yaz gets a call from the Doctor, who tells her that she's just arrived at the hotel and needs to be let in. While next door, Robertson is attacked when a spider breaks out of the bathtub. He manages to escape when his lackey Kevin comes in to rescue him, but Robertson cruelly closes the door behind him, leaving Kevin to the spider. As the Doctor meets Yaz's mom and tries to catch up, she confronts a terrified Robertson, who is surprisingly succinct in telling her what's going on, and she enters the bathroom to investigate. After she finds the spider that attacked Kevin, she decides they must make a run for it, and Yaz's mom leads everyone to the exits. But the doors they used to enter just moments ago have already been covered in cobwebs, as the spiders are trying to seal them in. Gathering in the kitchen, and despite the protests from Robertson, they make a plan. And while Graham and Ryan try to capture a spider, the doctor surveys the building plans for the hotel. She learns that the hotel was built from a repurposed coal mine, and she decides to investigate the underground tunnels, finding the bodies of the spider's many victims. The doctor realizes that the miles of dark underground tunnels are perfect for the spiders to get around, and they find that the hotel company, in trying to make as much money as possible, has decided to fill the old coal mine with industrial waste, including waste from Dr. McIntyre's lab. When Robertson claims ignorance, Yaz's mother calls him a liar, as that is exactly what she overheard Frankie telling him this morning. And Dr. McIntyre realizes that the toxic waste is having a mutating effect on the spider carcasses her lab sends away to be disposed of. Since spiders will continue to grow as long as they live, if a spider was living among this toxic waste with all of the food available, there's no telling what might happen to it. Meanwhile, while Graham and Ryan continue to look for a bigger spider to trap at the insistence of Dr. McIntyre, they have one of their famous heart-to-hearts, as while he was home, Graham found a letter addressed to Ryan from his father. After Ryan reads his father's letter, he tells Graham that his dad wants him to come and live with him, since he is his proper family. But that's not what Ryan wants, as there is nothing proper about his father. But before they can talk for too long, they must make their escape from the biggest spider they have encountered so far. As they all meet back up, they realize that the giant spider must be the mother, with all of the others being her babies. And the doctor tells Robertson to show them where his panic room is. Once there, the doctor explains that spiders sense their food through vibrations. So, using some of Ryan's music, they lure the spiders to the panic room with the promise of food, and deal with them in a humane way. Once all of the smaller spiders have been captured, they make their way into the ballroom with essential oils to subdue the mother, but they soon realize that she has gotten too big to breathe properly, and she will soon be dead. However, not wanting to miss one more chance to be a dick, Robertson enters with a gun and shoots the spider dead, which horrifies the doctor. With the threat of the spiders dealt with, Ryan and Graham prepare to say goodbye to the doctor, and at the Khan residence, Yaz volunteers to go out and pick up some bread, promising to explain her relationship to the doctor when she returns. However, as the three friends of the doctor meet her in the TARDIS, they tell her that they want to continue to travel with her. As Graham is still grieving Grace, Ryan is sick of his job at the warehouse, and even Yaz wants more of the universe with the best person she's ever met. The doctor insists that they must be sure before they come with her, because they will not be the same people they were when they return. But with all three of them in agreement, the doctor officially decrees them Team TARDIS, and they all set the TARDIS on its next adventure together. And now, before my review, here were the best lines from Arachnids in the UK.
Yes, I would. Thanks. I love tea. Tea at Yaz's, amazing. Imagine me with a sofa, like my own sofa. I could get a purple one. Am I being weird?
A little bit, yeah.
I'm trying to do small talk. I thought I was doing quite well. You really like junk. You're collecting it like stamps.
Maybe as your sister is a policewoman...
Police officer, it's not harmful.
Suffocate you, mate.
Long time to get a parcel.
What? Me and Amelia Earhart. You'd like her, she's a right laugh. Nadja, you made a very awesome human. Tell me what's going on. Crisis investigators. You just ran really quickly out of a room looking really scared. Right. Very succinct summary, well done.
You're that bloke.
Yeah.
Everyone, follow Yaz's mum. It's Nadja. Are you Ed Sheeran? Is he Ed Sheeran? Everyone talks about Ed Sheeran roundabout now, don't they? Should I look impressed right now? Is that impressive? You didn't. You can't be president if you fire Yaz's mum. Nadja.
That's possible. There are a lot of people that would like to see me dead.
Funny that. Are you two seeing each other? I don't think so. I eat danger for breakfast. I don't. I prefer cereal. Or croissants. I got people do now. Here's what we're gonna do.
Shoot them!
We're not gonna shoot them! My fam. No, it still doesn't quite work. Team TARDIS?
Okay, so overall, I thought this was a decent to good episode, but it never really felt like it got into a good rhythm for me. As if I could pick one thing that Chibnall has struggled the most with so far this season, it would be the pacing. But first, let's talk about what I think worked this week. First off, Chris Noth as Jack Robertson did a great job of making us as the viewers hate him, as he was a much better villain than the last 2 weeks have given us. Even though the spiders were the main event in this episode, it was really the work of Chris Noth that gave it a nefarious quality, so he had a lot to do with what was good about this episode. Speaking of the spiders, while the CGI on them wasn't amazing, it also wasn't terrible, and I think those graphics will hold up for at least 5 years or so before they start to look dated. However, the sounds that the spiders made were very creepy, so props to the sound department on that sound design. Getting to the Doctor, Jodie delivered once again, and she is by far the most consistent aspect of the new series. My favorite part of the episode by far was the new CGI for the Time Vortex, as I have to say the TARDIS flying through that looks super cool. And combined with Jodie's great physical acting as she hurls herself around the console, flipping switches and turning knobs, they do a fantastic job of making piloting the TARDIS through the vortex look really difficult to do. So well done there. Our companions all put in a nice performance, as Yaz got some really great development this episode. We see what her home life is like, and how generally supportive her family is of her, even if they might drive her insane sometimes. The scenes with Yaz's mom Nadia, played by Sabna Gulati, were especially nice to see, as they really do look like a mother-daughter team, and Sabna played her role as the nosy mother perfectly, adding a bit of humor to the episode every time she was on screen just by acting like a mom. So I really enjoyed that aspect of this episode, and I hope we see more of Yaz's family in the future. It was also nice to see a different side of Graham's character, as Bradley Walsh did an excellent job of exploring the grief that Graham must be experiencing as he is now back home among his wife's things, and he cannot escape the memory of her no matter where he goes. Out of the 3 companions, I feel like Graham has the biggest reason for wanting to continue to travel with the Doctor, and you can really understand how traveling in the TARDIS can take your mind off of grief, so that was nice to see. Finally, Ryan put in a decent performance this episode, but he kind of suffered from not having as much to do. We get a half-assed storyline with him about getting a letter from his father that's quickly forgotten, and really only serves to further set up him wanting to continue to travel in the TARDIS, but it just felt forced and didn't really have much weight to it. And it led to another awkward conversation between Graham and Ryan about their relationship, which is never good. But overall, I think he did the best he could with what the script gave him. As for the storyline, there were a lot of holes in it, as there usually are this season. And as I mentioned, and will continue to mention, the pacing was all over the place. But I thought the idea was decent, and the execution worked well, with Robertson really serving as the main antagonist, and the spiders really being there more to move the plot along. However, I feel that this episode would have been a million times better if it had actually been a callback to the 8-legs from the classic era, as that was really a missed opportunity, especially considering that their origins were basically the same. Now, as for what didn't work, sadly, our other guest star, Dr. Jane McIntyre, played by Tanya Fear, was by far the least interesting of all the secondary characters, as she really only served as an exposition machine filling in the Doctor on the technicalities of the spider issue. Not to mention that running into her was a very nicely timed coincidence which the entire plot relied upon, which is actually a really good criticism for the episode at large. The episode kind of writes itself into a hole right from the start, as the Doctor assures her companions that they have only been gone for about 30 minutes, which is fine, but an issue arises when you consider that these spider sightings have been going on for at least 3 months, including at the apartment right next to Yaz, being completely overrun with cobwebs, and even Graham and Ryan's attic was inhabited, yet for some reason, none of them noticed anything strange at all in the slightest at any point leading up to them leaving with the Doctor. It's only 30 minutes after they originally left, and everything, from Yaz's neighbor being found dead, to her mother getting fired, to Frankie trying to expose the company, all of that happened on this day, the day that the Doctor left and returned with her new companions. Now, obviously, this is nothing new in Doctor Who, as there is usually a companion-related issue when the Doctor returns with them to Earth for the first time, as was the case in Aliens in London or the Lazarus Experiment. But those had a time jump between the start of the adventures and their return. It's really the fact that this months-long issue was noted and dealt with in one day on the exact day that they left to the exact people that the Doctor has chosen to travel with that just seems like a bit of an extra jump. But anyways, let's move on. As I've said, my biggest complaint so far of this series has been the pacing, and this episode is no different, as it does a great job in its first half of setting up the problem of giant spiders and building up the drama before having what in my opinion is a massive letdown in its resolution. In the end, the spiders are lured to a room with music, which is cool, but how they are killed or disposed of is never shown to us, and is skipped over entirely, except to say that they will be dealt with humanely before they even enact their plan. In regard to the mother spider, before they can even do anything to stop her, they realize that she's dying already, which again, is fine, but then they allow Robertson to shoot it dead before letting him storm off, never to be seen again. The fact that nothing happens to this character, and that he gets away with being a dick for the whole episode, of firing Yaz's mom and getting his lackey Kevin killed, and then he just gets to leave? No consequences? I know that the 12th Doctor told us that we don't always get to decide who lives, but this seemed a bit much, especially since Yaz's mom is still fired, and that never gets addressed. Dr. McIntyre's character is also equally forgotten about and never brought up again once we leave the spiders. We never get a goodbye with her and the Doctor, or any kind of closure to her story. It honestly seems like there was about 3 to 5 minutes completely cut out between the spider shooting and the next scene, because absolutely none of the characters' arcs are resolved. And honestly, it's very jarring as a viewer. If we don't see the Robertson character come back at some point, then I will really question the editing of this episode, because leaving him as a loose end is just plain strange. In the end, there are a lot of good things in this episode, but their execution seems rushed and disorganized. Ryan's letter from his father is quickly brought up and then forgotten even quicker, and the relationship between him and Graham changes every single week, except for the fact that it's always awkward. The spiders were a cool idea, but the end of the episode glosses over them so quickly that it makes you wonder why they were even a threat in the first place. And the evilest person in the whole episode fires Yaz's mom and gets away scot-free, off to face Donald Trump in the election. So, for a crazy episode with a lot of good things that couldn't help but trip over itself in its execution, I give Arachnids in the UK 7 spiders out of 10. So, that was my recap and review for Series 11, Episode 4. Don't forget to like and subscribe for new videos every week, and ring the bell so you don't miss a video. Let me know in the comments what your favorite part of the episode was, and leave me some ideas for videos that you'd like to see in the future. As always, thank you for being my companions on this journey today. I'm the Doctor. Bye for now.